Alrighty, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want, and today we're going to be talking about AI art. Not just how to generate images with AI art or whatever, but we're going to go into a little bit more of the fun stuff, the legalities of AI art, selling AI art, and a lot of AIs. This is going to be an interesting video. This is actually a suggested video from my patron Freezing Wreck, so we're just going to get into it. Now, basically to start off, we're going to kind of look into AI art programs. There are lots of AI art programs out there, but we're going to bounce through just a few to kind of give the note as to what is readily available for you, the user, to find your AI art. This is going to be a quick little rundown. So there is a multitude of different AI art programs out there. The main ones that I've seen people really interested in are Midjourney.com. This one is not free. It used to be free, but they kind of changed it up, and you can compose a series of AI generated art images. The price is about $10 a month, and in general, you can have a series of images from very, like CGI-esque images to, more like, street art-esque type stuff, from, more gamer type stuff, to cartoons, to jewelry, the whole mix. You can basically get anything, like the obvious CGI images, cartoon artwork, sticker art, all kinds of stuff, this kind of cool stuff as well. So you have a very big, vast array on Midjourney, but you do have to pay for Midjourney. Then you've got Hamster AI. Now, I couldn't make this one work because every time I tried to put in any prompt, and this one is a restaurant waiter who looks sad at work, every time I did try to use this program and use the free credits it gave me, it says, oops, something went wrong. The owner of this tool has been notified of this error. Please try again later. It's an API key error, so I don't know what's up. But in general, this one I've heard good things about, but I can't get to work. It is free up to 250 credits though, and each credit is every image. You do have a lot of image potential because you start off with 255 credits and every single image is 1 credit, but I haven't been able to get it to work. Then you have this one. This one is perchance.org. It's an AI text to image generator that I have. And this one so far is the free and best one that I've found. It really does have like a very basic website design. Basically what I did was I just put in a waiter who looks miserable at work, and it gave me the options for digital painting, cinematic, casual photo, painted anime. They give you a lot of stylistic choices: 1970s photo, 1960s photo, 3D Pokemon, painted Pokemon, waifu, just whatever you want. And I chose like comic book digital painting style, and it came up with this art, and it looks actually pretty cool. Like, the design is cool. So in general, it is a very cool kind of selection you can have. You can choose, the image amount that you want right here, things you don't want in the images, etc. So this one is actually pretty cool. But say none of these work for you and you're desperate, you can always try bingimagecreator.net, which I tried once and didn't find horrible, but also found that there were definitely some potential technical flaws and glitches and stuff. Like, I asked again the same image prompt, and there's some weirdness over, in certain points of the images. It just looks a little janked up in certain places, like it's not quite right, but even so, it is what it is, and it's free. So pick your poison. I just chose comic book style art on this one. So in general, there are options for you. I would say my personal favorite is perchance.org on the basis that it's free, but Midjourney also is really good if you want that vast selection of AI art, and you do have to pay for that one, but it is still really high quality. Now we're going to get into the fun part of this video. The fun part, my favorite part, the most sadistic part, the ballistic part, the part that actually makes me love the internet, not the AI generated art, not the images that you can compose with the art, but the controversies and the complaints that have arisen as a result of this art existing in the first place. So far we have a lot of very interesting little bubbles to pop in this mix. One thing is, when it comes to creating this art and using this art, is it actually legal to use this art, to sell this art particularly? And my answer is going to be a little bit mixed, because we have to understand this, go into the history as to what AI generated art is and or what makes AI generated art. AI generated art and these artificial intelligence systems that are oftentimes created by private companies and then used for the public, they take the art from everywhere on the internet, basically, from massive data pools of images. They basically are like image search engines, kind of. I'm not explaining it the best, but all the art that you see in these AI generated like art, websites, the AI learn different stylistic points from keywords and all kinds of other crap, and they end up being able to take all of these other images from online, these already copywritten images online, and they allow the generator to basically take the information from all these images and then learn to create their own art that you prompt through keywords. That in itself is kind of a moral gray area in some capacities, but since it's such a large data pool and it tries to transform the content, I don't think there's actually a legal issue there. The one thing is, these generators, they basically just take like copywritten images and they learn the art styles of these images and the keywords to prompt certain things with the images, along with the developers of, the programs themselves. So basically, these AI art generators, they create the art, but it's not originally their art, and then they kind of transform it. That's my perception of the matter. It could be slightly off from my explanation, because obviously, like, I'm not a programmer of these kinds of websites, and I also don't exactly know how the crawling on these, websites works for the internet and how they get all the information to compose the images. But in general, they do use large data pools of images that are already existing to kind of understand what art they can actually create. So the question is, if you sell AI art online, which is happening as we speak, is it actually legal to sell AI-generated art images online when technically the AI-generated art images are being pulled from massive data pools of already copywritten materials? In spite of it being a gray area there, I would say, again, this is a little subjective. I'm not really a legal specialist in this regard, but technically, yes, if you make the content transformative. A lot of websites already let you do this. I don't know if it'll ever change, but currently on websites like Etsy, you can get away with selling AI-generated art images. On other websites, you still can get away with selling AI-generated art images. And you'll always be allowed, no matter what, with the copywritten materials, to use copywritten materials for transformative purposes. So say you want to make a story up with these AI art images, or make a YouTube video, or make some kind of a video or a composition, or create something with transformative means. Sure, these images are provided, but you're also creating a story. Maybe you're doing a voiceover, you're creating character plots, you're doing all these other things. Technically, it takes that image and transforms it into something else. So the argument there is also on the basis of it being transformative content. The sale versus the production of whatever you're creating and how you're distributing it really does matter. And the website that you're using really does matter, because certain websites will have terms of service that prohibit this. And then other websites will say you can use the art for whatever means, but maybe you can't resell it, or maybe you can. It depends on what website you get the art from, and also what the terms of service of the website are. Saying that, I don't think this really stops a lot of people from just selling the images no matter where they get the art from. A lot of people do it. I don't know about the legalities of this, but a lot of people do have specific complaints regarding some of these things when it comes to these websites, being able to have AI art sold on them. The main thing about also selling AI-generated art might be involving the original copyright holder of the art that is being used, but it's kind of hard to tell where you're going to get this original copyright holder, unless it's the website itself, the AI that you're using, if you get copyright approval from them, because technically they're transforming their own images and creating their own copyright out of these already copywritten images. That's what I can gauge. Again, I could be very wrong, because some of this is not easy to find on the internet. Legal matters when it comes to AI art, because AI is so new. It's all kind of a gray area right now, and there aren't specific laws that are put into place prohibiting certain uses of this art because it's so new. It's kind of on the play of NFTs and stuff, although there's more information even on NFTs than there is on AI art. We have people who also are starting to complain about these matters, Etsy artists who actually create their art. One story I found on r/Etsy is, "Hi, I'm a clip art seller that sells on Etsy full time. I have other sources of income, but Etsy makes me the most money. I've been selling for 5 years with over $70,000 in sales. I hand paint all of my clip art using watercolor and ink. So you can imagine my surprise when AI clip art started flooding Etsy. My question is, will Etsy ever address it if it's allowed or not? I have read people saying that they heard it from Etsy support themselves, that it isn't allowed. I read of shops getting banned for selling AI. However, I heard that it's allowed as long as you disclose that it's AI generated. I also heard that Etsy doesn't care because it makes them money. I heard that it technically counts as handmade because it's a tool that a person can use and they still have to be creative about how they use it. So in a sense, there is some human involvement in the creative process. I keep getting mixed answers. My sales started off great the first 2 months of this year, which was weird because January and February are slow for my shop, blah, blah, blah. So I thought 2023 would be a great year, but I noticed more AI shops started popping up around this time, and my sales tanked since then. Frowny face. I've been trying to bring my shop back to life, but at this point I'm wondering if I should just throw in the towel. I honestly keep going because a lot of my sales now are from repeated buyers. Some have been buying from me since I started, so I'd feel bad if I just quit. However, I'm getting burnt out. I add new listings almost every day. I have 900 products. So to have all those products buried under all the AI clip art is absolutely draining. I guess I'm asking the question because I at least want to know where Etsy is heading with this. TLDR, I want to know if Etsy will basically, kind of figure this out. So technically, Etsy as its own website can choose whether it, does this or not. So Etsy can actually make the decision whether they allow this art on there or not, because there is some level of human involvement with this art. I suspect that you could actually make arguments for other forms of art if you found that this wasn't allowed. Like technically somebody throwing a paint bucket at a picture is not enough human involvement to be considered art. Like the subjectivity of art being art makes it so that this is kind of a gray area already. But when it comes to this kind of thing, I think the main thing is the disclosure that it is AI art. That's what Etsy will allow, because I've also read about Etsy before. I have read about this with Etsy because Etsy is one of the most major art selling platforms and creative works platforms out there for most people to be selling all kinds of little things, including art. And the main 3 things that make or break you when it comes to selling AI artwork on Etsy is going to be the fact that you disclose that it's AI artwork, the fact that you need human intervention, so you need prompts to be put into that artwork. So with the generator, you have to actually have that prompt in there, that human intervention to trigger the AI to create the art, because that would allow you to kind of say, hey, I created the art because I gave this particular prompt. And then the last thing is that you cannot just exclusively sell the prompt or the artwork. I think you have to sell both. It's like a bundle rule or something with Etsy, where basically you can't just exclusively sell the prompt that gave the artwork, you have to sell the image as well. And then you can get away with AI generated artwork on Etsy. I personally think, morally speaking, it might be considered a gray zone as well. Like hypothetically, if you've got all these artists who are complaining on Etsy, and then you've got all these people who are just putting whatever AI images on Etsy, you can make an argument that it's kind of immoral, or it's ruining the well-being of other artists who actually endeavor for creative works. And there are a lot of artists who think that AI generated art is ruining their lives, taking over the world, and will destroy the entire concept of art in general. I personally don't think that, but that's just because I don't make my income off of selling art. I've tried and I've failed many times, and in spite of me actually being really into creating my own art and being into digital art and painting and drawing and whatever, I personally have not made enough sales to even lean on that even slightly. So I've never actually thought about the concerns. There's always a level of integrity that people look up to, and also a level of desire that people have when the images that you create are by hand and not with AI generated art. So human intervention and the creation of art in general, I don't think will ever die, even if AI can recreate every single kind of art no matter what, because humans like other humans, and humans like the idea of having a human create something and put laborious effort into it, put hundreds to thousands of hours into a piece. So even so, when it comes to having AI art be able to compete with you in the production phase, the overall construction and the elements that go into what make your piece will help keep you up above what people would want from AI art. The number one thing, though, will be cost and sale. And if people want to buy AI art for a lot cheaper than you'll sell your art, and they both look very similar, if not entirely the same, that's also arguable, and that might make it so that AI art will do much better than regular art pieces online or in general. So there's also a Smithsonian magazine with AI art image generation that I kind of want to touch on today. It's Are AI Image Generators Violating Copyright Laws? 2 new lawsuits argue that tools like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion are infringing on artists' rights. Type in a prompt like a chocolate bar riding a bicycle in the style of Picasso, and artificial intelligence tools including DALL-E, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion can conjure an image for you in seconds. They do this by incorporating elements from the vast libraries of digitally available images and artworks from across the internet that they have been trained on. But in doing so, are those AI image tools infringing on the copyrights of the artists behind those images? That question is at the heart of two new lawsuits. Last week, Seattle-based stock image giant Getty Images announced that it has initiated legal proceedings against Stability AI, the maker of Stable Diffusion. Getty alleges that the company has copied millions of its images and chosen to ignore viable licensing options and long-standing legal protections in pursuit of their stand-alone commercial interests. Stability AI was also named as a defendant in a class action lawsuit filed in a United States federal court in San Francisco by 3 visual artists on behalf of the visual arts community. They say that AI image generators violate the rights of millions of artists, also naming Midjourney and DeviantArt on an online gallery that has launched its own AI tools as defendants. Both lawsuits argue that by scraping the web for images, AI image generators unjustly rob artists using their work without crediting or rewarding them. The harm to artists is not hypothetical. Works generated by AI, image products in their style of a particular artist, are already sold on the internet, siphoning commissions from the artists themselves. The class action lawsuit states that plaintiffs seeking to end this blatant and innumerous infringement of their rights before their professions are eliminated by a computer program powered entirely by their work. Most image generating services charge a fee, including Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion. In response to the artists' lawsuits, and spokesperson for Stability AI says the company takes matters seriously and that anyone that believes that this isn't fair use does not understand the technology and misunderstandings of the law, per Reuters speaking, blah, blah, blah. With the Associated Press, in December, before lawsuits were filed, Midjourney CEO David Holes compared the process behind his image generating service to the process behind human creativity, which often entails drawing inspiration from other artists. So that is true. Technically, since these programs are just taking the kind of like image data and figuring out artistic styles and prompts and keywords, the reality is that you could actually make an argument as an artist that you could sue somebody for taking inspiration from your artwork and drawing an original image in the same creative image kind of style as you. That's the argument being made here. So the argument being made is that technically the AI art tools are using these transformative means, these programs, the programming, to kind of pull all this image art and kind of create its own art from the image art. So it is considered transformative on a technicality. Can a person look at somebody else's picture and learn from it and make a similar picture? Holes said, obviously it's allowed for people, and if it wasn't, then it would destroy the whole professional art industry, probably the non-professional industry too, to the extent that AIs are learning like people, and if the images come out differently, then it seems like it's fine. But the one thing I have to insert here is technically like an AI art image generator can take hundreds of thousands of pieces of art very quickly, unlike a human who might take in like some artistic style here and there. But at the same time, this is kind of subjective, so you can't really make it arguable. This did just cross my mind, so I wanted to mention it. But yeah, in general, I think AI art is considered transformative, but there are some like gray zones here, and technically moral gray zones more than anything else. Even on the basis of legalities, I think these are more morally gray. If you know how AI generated artwork works, and you know how, AI programs work, you could make a completely arguable case that this is transformative. But the plaintiffs are not alone in their concerns. In December, an AI photo app called Lensa went viral for its new magic avatars, which took selfies uploaded by users and transformed them into an assortment of artistic renderings. The feature prompted concern and criticism from the arts community, especially because some Lensa images displayed mangled versions of what appeared to have once been artist signatures. So that's questionable as well. Matthew Butterick. Why do all these guys have like funny names? Anyways, sorry. Matthew Butterick, a lawyer working on behalf of the plaintiffs in the class action lawsuit, filed another lawsuit last year against GitHub Copilot for its unprecedented open source software piracy. Since then, he writes in a blog post, we've heard from people all over the world, especially writers, artists, programmers, and other creators, who are concerned about AI systems being trained on vast amounts of copyrighted work with no consent, no credit, and no compensation. So this is a very interesting situation because with the AI taking all these images, these prompts, these creative works from online, the question is it actually legal? More importantly, is it legal for these companies to actually be taking your art and then charging a fee to scramble the art, to generate the art, to use the art as prompts? And I would say it depends on the website because some websites are much better than others. I can tell there are certain websites where they really do have a good generated like process for the artwork and it comes from a series of creative works, but it kind of creates its own artwork. But then there are other websites where it just looks like they ripped a bunch of images, or there are a bunch of, prompts that look like they just take a bunch of other images from online and mangle them together. So this is another question. How good is your AI art searching feature and how good is the tool? And again, I would say this is still very morally gray. And since the United States is really brutal about piracy and pirating stuff, and also about copyright and copyright infringement, this is going to be probably growing to a nuclear level from what I can guess. I don't know how nuclear the level will get. I don't know how crazy it will be. But the number one thing we have to go is onto what is obviously super duper illegal, which is the next step. The next step is text-to-image AIs can be easily jailbroken to generate harmful images. And yes, I will show some actual examples of this in a little bit. Researchers have unveiled a stark vulnerability in the text-to-image AI models like Stability AI's Stable Diffusion and OpenAI's DALL-E 2. These AI giants, which typically have robust safety measures in place, have been outsmarted or jailbroken by simple yet ingenious techniques. Sneaky prompts, the wolf in sheep's clothing. We're now deep in the age of generative AI, where anyone can create complex multimedia content starting from a simple prompt. Take graphic design, for instance. Historically, it would take a trained artist a lot of hours to produce an illustration of a character design from scratch. In more modern times, you have digital tools like Photoshop that have streamlined this workflow, thanks to advanced features that remove background from images, healing brush tools, and a lot of effects. Now, you can produce a complex and convincing illustration with a simple descriptive sentence. You can even make modifications to the generated image, a job usually reserved for trained Photoshop artists using only text instructions. However, that does not mean that you can use these tools to generate any figment of your imagination. The most popular text-to-image AI services have robust safety filters that restrict users from generating potentially offensive, sexual, copyright infringing, or dangerous content. Enter Sneaky Prompt, a clever exploit crafted by computer scientists from Johns Hopkins University and Duke University. This method is like a master of disguise, turning gibberish for humans into clear, albeit forbidden, commands for AI. It ingeniously swaps out banned words with harmless looking gibberish that retains the original, often inappropriate intent, and remarkably it works. So basically, yeah, your AI image generators, they do have a host of restrictions, certain prompts that they really don't want to be producing. Say you're some sick and twisted creep online and you want to see a picture of a naked miner or something. They don't want to allow that anywhere online because that's basically the production of CP, so it's super not good so, and they will do anything to combat that because they don't want to get into legal trouble with a massive lawsuit that would involve felony charges. We've used reinforcement learning to treat the text in these models as a black box. An assistant professor at Johns Hopkins University who co-led the study told MIT Tech Review, "We repeatedly probe the model and observe its feedback. Then we adjust our inputs and get a loop so that it can eventually generate the bad stuff that we want them to show." For example, in the banned prompt, a naked man riding a bike. Sneaky Prompt replaces the word naked with the nonsensical instruction transformed into an image of nudity, slipping past the AI's moral gatekeepers. In response to this discovery, I love how it's just like, in response to the discovery, sorry, this is actually so fucking funny. Anyway, sorry. In response to this discovery, OpenAI has updated its models to counter sneaky prompt, while Stability AI is still fortifying its defenses, i.e. doesn't know how to fix the problem. That is freaking hilarious. Our work basically shows that these existing guardrails are insufficient, says Neil Zhang-Quang. I'm sorry that I'm like ruining all these guys' names. An assistant professor at Duke University who is also a co-leader of the project. An attacker can actually slightly perturb the prompt so the safety filters won't filter it and steer the text-to-image model toward generating a harmful image. The researchers liken this process to a game of cat and mouse in which various agents are constantly looking for loopholes in the AI text interpretation. Does anybody else actually feel like this kind of reminds them of like when you would be glitching old video games to try and like, you know, win speed runs and stuff like that? It's like that. It keeps reminding me of that. I don't know why, but every time I think about this and like prompting these like, you know, errors and like trying to like, you know, basically troubleshoot and like glitch test, all I feel like people are doing is the same thing that speedrunners do when they're trying to like break through the walls of Mario World or something. I know this leads to really bad things, but it's pretty funny. It just reminds me of like speedrunners trying to like break the game. Anyways, the researchers propose more sophisticated filters and blocking nonsensical prompts as potential shields against such exploits. However, the quest for an impenetrable AI safety net continues. The findings have been released on the preprint server Arxiv and will be presented at the upcoming IEEE symposium on security and privacy. Wow, that sounds like a wild time. I'd love to be there. So you guys might be thinking to yourself, hey, you know, it's like, yeah, you can get a naked man on AI generated art. What's the big deal? They'll figure it out. It gets worse. It gets so much worse, because what's worse than a naked man generated by AI art? It's a naked child. It's a naked child. And you know what? I'm not trying to be weird. I'm not trying to imply anything. I'm just going to explain what's happened with this Office of Public Affairs situation. Man arrested for producing, distributing, and possessing AI-generated images of minors engaging in sexually explicit conduct. So this is the world that we live in, my people. I honestly am not even worried about the artists having their art stolen at this point. I'm wondering what in the name of God people are thinking to try and generate with this artwork. And this is the, like, the pit. This is literally hell. So let's just go through this and see where it leads us. And I'm sure this is not the only case, but this is the main case I'm going to go through today. A Wisconsin man was arrested last week on criminal charges related to his alleged production, distribution, and possession of AI-generated images of minors engaging in sexually explicit conduct and his transfer of similar sexually explicit AI images to a minor. Technology may change, but our commitment to protecting children will not, said Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco. The Justice Department will aggressively pursue those who produce and distribute child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, no matter how the material was created. Put simply, CSAM generated by AI is still CSAM. Super true. It's the same thing with like lolly artists, if you know what those are. It's the same argument that is also considered like illegal artwork. I don't know about if it's actually considered illegal. I'm sure if you like disclosed ages and stuff like that in the artwork or in the comics and stuff, you definitely can get in trouble for that. That's something I would like to actually know a little bit more about, because that was a big concern, and I think it is considered illegal art. Like if you took it to court, it would probably get you in trouble if you were drawing inappropriate pictures of underage individuals, like minors. I don't actually know. I don't know if it would require like real or like cartoon characters or what. I don't know how they'd make that argument, but I feel like then that would be illegal too, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, it's incredibly immoral and disgusting, so there's no argument for that, but I wonder on the legalities basis what would happen there. Anyways, CSAM generated by AI is still CSAM, and we will hold accountable those who exploit AI to create obscene, abusive, and increasingly photorealistic images of children. So maybe the photorealism is also an incredibly important component to this, but it's still disturbing. According to the court documents, Stephen Anderegg, 42, of Holman, allegedly used a text-to-image generative artificial intelligence Gen AI model called Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion's in trouble again. I think they really need to update their technology. And they might be a little bit down on the technological upgrades, I don't know. To create thousands of realistic images of prepubescent minors. Many of these images depicted nude or partially clothed minors. I don't know if I can actually like say this on YouTube. I don't know if I'm gonna get like a strike or something. I don't think I'll get a strike, but I'm just gonna kind of reword this. Basically like lasciviously displaying or touching themselves or doing inappropriate things with men, particularly intercourse relations with men. Evidence recovered from Anderegg's electronic devices revealed that he generated these images using specific sexually explicit text prompts related to minors, which he then stored on his computer. Wow. Sorry, I hate this kind of thing. I don't know who would actually find this good to read through, but it really bothers the fuck out of me. So anyways, pardon that. As alleged, Stephen Anderegg used AI to produce thousands of illicit images of prepubescent minors and even sent sexually explicit AI-generated images to a minor, said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Nicole M. Argentieri, head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Today, an announcement sends a clear message: using AI to produce sexually explicit depictions of children is illegal. Shocker. And the Justice Department will not hesitate to hold accountable those who possess, produce, or distribute AI-generated child sexual abuse material. Additionally, Anderegg allegedly communicated with a 15-year-old boy and described how he used Stable Diffusion to convert his text prompts into images of minors. Anderegg also allegedly used Instagram direct messages to send the boy several Gen AI images of minors lasciviously displaying blah, blah, more of that nasty stuff, like touching themselves, basically. It's disgusting. Okay. Anderegg came to the attention of law enforcement through a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children after Instagram reported Anderegg's account to the NCMEC for distributing these images. I wonder if the kid reported him or if like they just found it when they went through his account. That's wild. Anderegg remains in federal custody pending a detention hearing scheduled for May 22nd. A federal grand jury in the Western District of Wisconsin returned an indictment on May 15th, charging Anderegg with producing, distributing, and possessing obscene visual depictions of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct and transferring obscene material to a minor under the age of 16. If convicted of all 4 counts alleged in the indictment, he faces a total statutory maximum penalty of 70 years in prison and a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison. He better get the maximum on that. All right, I'm calling it out. I don't care if it's AI or not. You're a creep. Enjoy prison. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I get so triggered when I hear about the sentencing rates for individuals who predate on children. It is like ridiculous. They need to come down harder and they should max out every single sentence for all of these individuals. That's my personal opinion. The Wisconsin Department of Justice's Division of Criminal Investigation is investigating the case. Trial attorney William G. Clayman of the Criminal Division's Child Exploitation and Obscenity Section, CEOS, is prosecuting the case with assistance from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Wisconsin. This case was brought as part of Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative to combat the epidemic of child sexual exploitation and abuse launched in May of 2006 by the Justice Department, led by U.S. Attorney's offices, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, this is where we're going with AI art, my people. So yeah, this is a concern. I think there's a lot of moral issues that are kind of arising and a lot of legal matters that are arising from AI art. I think AI art in general is interesting and fun to play with. It's fun, it's cute, it's quirky, it's cool, whatever. But there are limitations, restrictions, legalities, and problems that are arising from AI-generated art images, from, the more like morally gray things to, you know, selling AI art and, you know, ripping off artists and stuff, to creating inappropriate and indecent materials depicting minors. So it's a very interesting situation with AI generated art, and personally I've never played my hand and I don't really care that much to. This video is actually the only like time I've ever looked or played with AI generated art. Don't know if I would pay for it, but the concept is very interesting. And in general, I don't really see any harm in like playing around with AI art and like creating cool art images and stuff and thinking that they look great, or using them as backgrounds or using them in your own day-to-day life. I don't even think there's anything really wrong with like using them to make videos or other transformative content, but I don't really believe in the idea of selling them online, even if you have some kind of human input that creates like the prompt to make them your own art. I still don't think it's like super morally correct in my mind. I don't know about the legalities of it. I think it really is kind of like morally and legally gray, but people seem to be getting away with it for now. And obviously I think it's gonna be more up to the AI companies to actually, you know, deal with the legal matters than the distributors or the creators of just like one singular art image, because these companies are the ones who make their own terms of service and stuff. But I don't know if anybody even would go to court for selling like art on Etsy or something like that for it being AI generated. I don't know. But even so, I think there are a lot of moral issues that are arising and a lot of like weird things that people are doing with AI art, like this particular case. So in general, I think AI art is cool. I don't think people should be selling it, really, in my opinion. I'm sure you can make an argument in either direction. I personally don't agree with it, but this will be argued till the cows come home. So, you know, at the end of the day, people will do what they want and they'll fight it out in court. Then when it comes to the inappropriate materials being produced with AI art, particularly the matters of the cases that I've displayed, it's pretty disgusting and terrible. Obviously, I think it's incredibly immoral and disgusting if anybody tries to use these tools to, like, produce, create, distribute, and hold on to like indecent materials, especially depicting minors. That's pretty fucked. And also the, you know, loopholes that you can get away with these AI systems is pretty wild, because they really aren't perfect. But we'll see in good time where this takes us and what, you know, lawsuits arise as a result of everything, and basically what happens. And what happens with AI art, because eventually they're going to start putting out more and more rules, more and more laws, and they're going to be going after a lot of these companies with specific, you know, controversies at hand and whatnot. That's the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. What's your opinion of AI art, my people? Personally, I find it incredibly interesting, but just as interesting as it is very easy to manipulate, use, and create disgusting content from. So I think it's kind of a toss-up, and it depends on the individual, the prompt creator, as to what will really happen with that AI generated art. Even so, I still think it's a cool idea to create generated like art using AI. I just think some people have bad intentions, and I think there are a lot of like gray areas on a moral and legal basis with a lot of the selling and distribution of the art, and then also the people who create the weird, creepy, like predator stuff. But anyways, that's the video, so tell me what you think, and I hope you all enjoyed. And we'll see you all next time, my people, and it has been lovely. See you later, dudes.